Fill her up.
You're listening to the Gas Digital Network.
I went online to become a private detective. It was a private detective school online, and I paid online. I never heard from them again. I thought to myself, I either got ripped off, or this is my first case. This is a journalistic podcast, Shannon. We vaccinate our listeners with answers. And I'm going to keep lip-syncing the important questions until TikTok gives me a show. Shannon, how can the moon landing be real if the moon itself is fake?
That's not true, Mike.
Oh, isn't it true, Shannon? You're fake. You're a hologram.
1 in 5 New Yorkers are food insecure. What's your solution for that, Mike?
Fortune cookie. Because that's food and advice at the same time. Shannon, at least have the decency to backstab me, okay? You stab me in the front every time. Some fans can't watch the podcast because they're triggered by our sexuality. And message to those fans, we will leak a sex tape right into your mouth.
This is Mike Vecchione Investigates.
And you're not better than me.
Welcome to Mike Vecchione Investigates, everybody. Another hard-hitting episode. I am reporting live from Winnipeg. I had to go to another country. Things were getting heated in the United States. Ozzy Osbourne has decided to leave. He has decided to leave the United States because of violence, and I don't blame him. It's reported he was taking a crazy train on the way out. So Ozzy Osbourne doesn't feel safe in the country. I'm following his lead. I'm out of there too. He was like, it's just not safe enough to worship the devil. And I agree. So I'm in Winnipeg. I'm also doing stand-up comedy, trying to see how things shake out in the United States. But I'm reporting. And I'm opening a series of investigations. Sometimes we get the opportunity to do these Zoom meetings. I like to have people in studio. I like flesh on seats. I like coffee in the mouth. I like live, okay? That's the way I function best. But sometimes we do these Zooms and they work out great. And we got a fantastic guest for you guys tonight. Or today, wherever you are, time zones. I had trouble with time zones today, and I messed up the time of this meeting. And our guest patiently awaited. I don't know what he was doing in the meantime. Maybe fentanyl, which I think a lot of the kids are doing. Anyway, I don't want to speculate on that. I could ask him directly. By the way, also, I feel obligated to mention if you're watching this on a computer or some kind of a digital screen, I do have a zit on my nose. That is not part of the production process that went wrong. It's not Shannon's fault. It's my own pores that are turning against me. And now I have a giant zit on my nose. But as a Catholic, I've decided to keep it, and I'm going to raise it. So thank you for joining us. Zit on my nose, not having a very attractive day today. We pride ourselves on being sexy in this podcast. And today is not a sexy day. Today's a very ugly, ugly day for me. And Shannon and our guest have to raise the flag, and they have to carry the weight. They have to carry the weight of the sexuality of this podcast. Let me bring in our guest. He's hilarious. He is just a great, great comic, traveling all over the country, doing stand-up. I've known him for a long time. He's a Boston guy, too. And a lot of people are like, don't you guys hate each other? It's like, that's a myth. That's a myth. Kind of, sort of, but not really. And it's Shane Mauss joining us. Shane, thank you.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to see you again. And I'm sorry for your time zone. We shouldn't have time zones, I feel like.
If the moon is fake, how about time zones are too?
I think that, what would happen if you didn't have time zones? It would just make things easier. You'd go like, we are doing the Zoom meeting at 2 p.m. or whenever. And then you also get to have an experience with people in other regions. You get to be like, well, what is 4 o'clock like where you live? And they're like, oh, it's bitter cold. It's, and like, oh, it's the peak of the day where I'm at. It'd be a fun. There's no flaw whatsoever in that idea, by the way. It's perfect. And I can't believe you're bulletproof, and your little time zone mistake opened up a flaw in the system that was an opportunity for us to correct and solve. So I'm just happy to be here and getting to experience this moment.
Are you saying that it was the world's fault and that I was actually right, Shane? I think that's the way you're saying it, and I'm really buying into your narrative.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can't blame people. I think there's a big blind spot that maybe took you to expose.
Right. And as an investigative show, I pride myself on that. And I didn't even know that we were already investigating, but you and your beard, you brought us into it pretty quickly. Is that, I just was in Rome. I'm not bragging. Everybody else, I'm not bragging, but I was just in Rome and all the philosophers had beard. Shane, is that tradition? Are you taking a page out of there?
Let me think about that. This was a COVID creation. I didn't actually know that I could grow a beard before the pandemic. I would have like a little bit of stubble or whatever, and so I didn't even know this was possible. And then it was just kind of a letting myself go thing that some people attach to, and like you said, because of the mess that you're in at the moment with the zit on the nose in the hotel room and the, rather than being in the studio and unfavorable Zoom connection and everything else that you have going on, that it's on me to bring the sexy or the
Sexuality.
The sexuality. Yeah. And I think that I wouldn't say that I have to, I would reframe it as I get to.
Yes.
And so that's an opportunity for me.
Would you use the word that it's oozing off of you?
Yeah. There's not as much ooze coming off of me as that just travesty on your nose right now, but I feel oozy for sure.
But do you think this builds character, Shane? A lot of people are, I'm perfect. I'm a perfect person. And it's like, this is a flaw where it just lets other people go, hey, I can relate to you better.
I think so.
I'm pretty handsome. And people are like, I can't talk to you. I can't talk to you. But now people like have that foothold in, like climbers. They need that extra, where do I put my foot? Where do I put my foot? And they have an in now.
Yeah, I feel like you have like a authoritative kind of disposition about you, and so you this, you get to experience for a couple days what it is like to be flawed and be perceived as flawed, and I think that it's an opportunity for growth for sure. I would say that it's like your hair's still gelled, you're like kind of clean shape. Like you could have just taken it as an opportunity to just let it all go, and you didn't completely let it make you give up on life. And I think that's something that can inspire people as well.
It's an inspirational podcast also, Shane. You're really dialed into what we do here.
Yeah,
a lot of our guests,
I can tell,
used rabbits when they get on here, and they're running around and they don't know, and it's like so good to have someone in who's centered. And I think your beard probably does that for you.
I do stroke it quite a bit when I'm thinking, like the cliche thing. Right. There's like an evolved thing that it happens. If anyone that has a beard, you'll stroke it when you're thinking.
You think it's after Socrates? Is that your guy? Is that your favorite comic?
I don't know. I don't like the old think. It's like, well, what they were sure, whatever marvelous kind of thinkers they were at the time, they really had, and they didn't have the basis of knowledge that we have now. So they're like, where does thinking come from? Is it from like the liver or whatever? And so they're just basing all of their philosophy on things that any fourth grader kind of knows better today. So I rather than, I have a science podcast, I interview a lot of scientists and stuff, and they tend to like the history of like, here's how these thoughts evolved and here's how far we've come. And I usually say, let's just skip to what we know now. Right. I don't necessarily need to hear about everything everyone had wrong through all of history and still praise them for like, well, they were super wrong about all of these things. Like, I think Socrates was very worried about reading.
Right.
And maybe he was right. But yeah, so I'm not into old plot. I just went on. That's, you know what? That was what that rant that I went on, that was the zit on my nose of our conversation, where it was.
You did a figurative zit on your nose to in order to give me support.
I mean, I felt like that whole riff, it could have been tighter. I felt like it there, you know, I was hoping like a punch was going to come out of it at some point, and instead I just kind of talked shit about ancient philosophers that were instrumental on building the world and how we got to be in this marvelous place today.
But Shane, there's a lot in there. There's a lot to unpack in what you just said. Number one, what I got from it is you don't respect failures. If you're a failure, get out of my face. And I think it's because you're a super talent. You were a talented phenom from the start, comedically. A lot of guys were trial and error guys. You weren't that. You were just funny right from jump. And I think maybe it's because it's like you're a super talented guy. You don't have respect for guys who have to stumble and fall and who are clumsy a little bit. It's like you're just wearing a three-piece suit on the Tonight Show right away, 6 months in. And other people have to struggle. You don't have any respect for that. Respond to that. Respond to that, Shane.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit it on the head. I have no respect for anyone that tries in life, because if you don't have innate born talent and aptitude at certain things, then nothing is worth pursuing. Yeah, right. I think that's
for them. For them, guys like you. That's why Michael Jordan can't coach, Shane.
Right.
Why Michael Jordan can't coach. So you called Socrates stupid. You say, hey, should we be giving dumb people credit for stuff? They got it wrong. They got it wrong. You're yelling. And I hear you, Shane. I don't agree with it personally, but I hear what you're saying loud and clear. From your perspective, from your level of talent, you can't waste your time with dum-dums. It's a good thing to work on.
I think I'm trying to now think of a possible scenario in life where it would not work for you to say, and that's why Michael Jordan doesn't coach. Like there isn't a context in which that is not an appropriate statement to make, I feel like. No? Well, can you think of one?
I think Michael Jordan never had a zit on his nose, is what I think.
I'm warming up to it. I was honestly, I was judgmental at first. You know, before the recording, I told you like you can't not address that thing that's happening on your nose, and
you can't not address it, Fatso. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then I think I called you a few other names too. Right. I don't remember. It was like a whole string of names, if I remember right.
String like spaghetti.
What's that?
String like spaghetti.
Yeah. It
was a spaghetti line of insults, I believe, just for our fans who are listening.
I thought it was. Wait, is that an Eminem lyric that you just threw out? Is that what happened? No, that's Mom's Spaghetti.
Mom's Spaghetti.
Mom's.
And who doesn't love Mom's Spaghetti?
I like that he blamed his mom's spaghetti for making his stomach ill. I think it was the stage fright. And spaghetti sits really well too, you know, like if you're a runner or whatever, you eat a lot of pasta before you go. Like I don't think people throw up spaghetti. I think you picked the wrong thing. Like I would have said like Gushers, or like some sort of like some sort of candy, like fruit roll-ups, you know. The fruit roll-ups plus the stage fright is what, but you know, I'm not a rapper, so.
Yeah, and that doesn't rhyme, Shane. I hate to poke holes into I think you're a smart guy. That doesn't rhyme at all. So it's kind of important to rap.
I mean, you need to know what the line is before that to know if it rhymes or not, and I have no idea what that is. But it probably rhymes with Mom's Spaghetti. Mom's Spaghetti.
Mom's Spaghetti. Shane, I was overseas. Have you ever been? You're a travel guy. You're well traveled.
I am, yeah, all over the place. Europe, Australia, other places. I think. Where have you been? What did you do?
Turkey and Portugal this last trip for the troops, and also for my own enjoyment. I hunkered down in Rome for a few days and just walked around Rome, did tours. Me and my girl tours, and we did the Vatican, we did the Colosseum, and did a food tour. Ever been to Italy, Shane?
Yeah, I did a Segway tour of Rome, actually, which is Athens. That's Greece.
Are you confused with your empires?
No, it was it wouldn't be the first time for sure. It was in the exact same trip that I did that we went to Rome and Athens. But yeah, I enjoy Italy quite a bit. They got a real nice late night scene. Yeah, you know, you're walking around late at night and in Rome or whatever, and there's very well dressed people just walking around at like 1 a.m.
Yes.
Like dressed and carrying themselves like they're heading to work at or some fancy lunch meeting or something like that. And it's like 1 a.m. and they're just styling and look terrific.
It's an upscale culture. It really is. And yeah. I find that it's the Las Vegas of Catholicism. It's like you just walking into a church every 5 seconds. You find that church, fountain, gelato, fountain, church, priest, nun.
I was raised Catholic and I didn't even notice that.
No?
Yeah. But that's a very good insight.
I have a lot of good insights on this show, Shane. Were you upset by the ruins? Did you go, I mean, who's the contractor here? Do you look at it from a contractor's point of view?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I missed that aspect of the insight. I think that I probably was too easy on them. I think that I had appreciated the greatness that it once was, right, and marveled that I got to see what remained of it. And I can now, as you ask that question, I can now think to myself, yeah, I mean, this is an advertisement for shoddy construction. And if you take a tour of like the Colosseum or whatever, they'll talk you about, they'll be like, here's where the gladiators would sneak off with mistresses in this area, and the ladies would come, and they'll tell you all those juicy tidbits, and this prince got eaten by a lion over here, and this is how many people, blah blah blah, and they never point out, like, you know, there were better ways to make steps, and there's better ways to do maintenance that we've learned from this is, and like a lot of it was a shoddy kind of job, and it's surprising it's still standing. And I think that's something that I missed from the tour. I like to see the nuts and the bolts of a place when I'm on a tour. So yeah, that's a really good thing to investigate.
I really love the rhythm that you're talking in, Shane. It's really great. And because you're saying them so kindly, though. It's like you called Socrates stupid earlier. You're saying Roman architecture is shoddy, which I've never heard before. You're doing it in such a the cadence of your speech is so calming, though. I almost am agreeing with you. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that, Shane. I don't think that. But the rhythm of it, your algorithm has like sucked me into agreeing with you.
I have like a grounding presence, right?
Really great. And I really I'm almost drinking the Kool-Aid over here, which I know that you spike with.
It's the beard. You got to watch out for this whole thing.
All right, guys. I want to talk to you guys about my one of my favorite sponsors. Let me just be honest with you guys. RockAuto.com. Have you ever had a friend who has a guy. Nobody can find something, but your friend has a guy. I mean, this is New York. This happens all the time. All of your friends have guys. Oh, this is my guy. My guy is the best guy. You got to go to my guy. Well, I've got your guy for auto parts, guys, and that's rockauto.com. They've been in business for 20 years, and while every other business in this country might be raising prices or low on stock, when it comes to auto parts, you've got a guy, and people are raising prices. I mean, Shannon, $10 for a box of cereal. $10 for a box of cereal. You start the morning in bankruptcy. $10. I'm telling you, rockauto.com has auto parts you need in stock at reliably low prices. Everybody else is raising their prices, not rockauto.com. If you've got a used car, it's probably appreciating in value. The car market is hot, which is why now's the time to keep your car well maintained. It feels good knowing you're driving a reliable car, and rockauto.com makes it easy with every part you need at low prices. So go check out rockauto.com. If you're looking for auto parts, Rock Auto is your guy. And let them know we sent you by. At checkout, yell at them. And I know about this from Mike Vecchione Investigates. Kidding, guys. There's a box to put in our show name. Make sure you give us credit. We need it here. We are wildly insecure in this podcast, all of us. So give us the credit, Mike Vecchione Investigates, and go check out rockauto.com. All the auto parts you need at amazing prices. All right, guys, let's get back into it.
Usually I'm wearing some sort of robe.
Oh, that would have done it for us.
Yeah, I'm a robe guy usually nowadays. Yeah.
Because of this zit taking the sexuality away from me, you probably had to double up with a robe. But I like the white T-shirt. Is that because of Olivia Newton-John's death and Grease?
I've never worn a white T-shirt on anything ever. I don't like how high up these arms are. I like nothing about wearing this white T-shirt. I was just running a lot of errands today, and I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, where it's very warm. And so I just didn't want to sweat stain a thing. And then I hopped on here and I'm like, oh no, I'm still wearing my kind of work sweaty shirt. I'm like, I don't feel like standing up and making a whole thing of it. So took a chance.
Did you think to yourself, Mike has a zit on his nose. I can wear a white, I can dress down for this. Obviously, we're all not looking our best.
I could have never predicted what I was going to see on your face, but I was relieved, certainly. Took the pressure off me.
Well, it looks like a medical condition. I get it. You said when we were talking about Rome, you said the remains, and most people call them the ruins. And that is so positive. You took something that people just say because people say these things all the time. They don't realize they're being negative. It's ruins. It's ruins.
Yeah, I'm a half full guy.
It remains.
Yeah.
So it's like a positive spin on everything. And do you do that often, Shane?
No. That's got to be one of the first ones, and you captured it. I'm happy to have this recording just to see me have a positive reframing of anything in life, because it usually doesn't happen. If you would have caught me on a different day, I would have said, the ruins are this perfect example of just how grand humans tend to make things before they eventually just collapse, and you really get to see like the pointlessness of all of those people that gave their lives for that. That's the sort of riff I would have normally gone on, but today was remains, and so I like that.
I like that. That's really positive. And I was at the Coliseum, and they do a metal detector before you go through, and the guy was patting me down, and I made a joke. I go. Aren't you supposed to have a weapon in here? And, you didn't get it. I know you don't know what it feels like, Shane, but sometimes I talk like this wrong.
He didn't get
it.
He
didn't get it. Didn't speak English, but that's no excuse, dude. Comedy's
universal. It should permeate. It should permeate language.
Get the joke.
Yeah, absolutely. I do.
I'm in there, and so I'm thinking to myself, I'm talking to my girl. I go, Shane. I wonder if I would have been a gladiator. And she goes, she goes, you would have been dead.
Really? I don't know.
Because the life expectancy was 33. I would have been dead for like 17 years.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, and probably, and most certainly, for sure. But At the same time, I was actually as we've been having this conversation, I was like, well, who looks more like a gladiator between me and you? And I mean, you always addressed the fact that you have like a cop-ish look about you, but I wonder if you like, I don't know, you grow that hair out and stuff. We stick you, a few centuries ago or something, or however long. How long ago was gladiating? That's a word, by the way, gladiatoring.
You're right with our fans. Our fans do not know how to pronounce. You've actually said a lot of words that have confused our fans, and we usually stop and we usually break it down for them. But I don't want to break up your rhythm, the flow of what you're saying.
I was trying to make up a word and I made it up in the wrong way, in a way that would make no sense to anybody. Yeah.
But just a history of my hair, when I was young, I did do that. I let it I shaved the sides and let it grow up. And I looked like I was from Yemen.
Really?
Yes.
I feel like, I don't know. I think that if you and I were to battle in the Coliseum, I don't know. I feel like people are putting money on you.
Well, I mean, you have height and you're rangy.
That's true. God.
Yeah.
I'm a little crazy too. What kind of weapon you choosing?
I like that ball that you swing.
Oh, you took my ball. Oh, I can't. We can't both show up with the ball
because they'll get tanked.
And it's also just like embarrassing. Yeah. You show up to the house wearing the same thing the house party is. It's like that we both picked the spiky ball.
The spiky ball that you swing. It's terrible. But no, I found it to be unbelievably interesting. And human nature hasn't changed. This is a real thing that the guy was saying. He's like, in order to pacify the people of Rome, they wanted two things: bread and circus. If you made sure they were fed and you made sure they were entertained by moronic violence, then they would not rebel and they would not revolt. I found that to be interesting. Very interesting.
I think it is dead on. Yeah. Although waiting on my free bread.
You're waiting on the free bread.
Yeah. I feel like that's the section that's missing.
Are you living a low carb lifestyle? Are you anti-gluten, Shane?
I actually I'm not fond of bread generally. No. Very particular in the ways in which I eat it. I will eat a bagel if it is an everything bagel that is toasted with vegetable cream cheese and a slice of tomato on it. And other than that, I pretty much don't eat bread.
Wow. Everything bagel. Everything.
Yeah.
Entire world.
Very greedy.
God.
It's very pretentious sounding. Because they also don't give you a lot of selection with the bagels or the cream cheese. It's like usually regular cream cheese, and that's disgusting. Something about regular cream cheese I just can't handle. But you throw a little veggie cream cheese in there, and it works for me.
Do you think it offsets the gluten?
Something about that. Yeah, I don't think that I have anything close to a gluten allergy. I think I just don't like cake. I don't like anything too bready. Usually if I have a sandwich, I'll take one of the slices of bread off and I'll eat I'll make my own open face sandwich.
Wow. Open face is a big one. But you hate cake. I noticed you said you hate cake, and it's like, what do you do for your birthday? Where do you stick the candles in your beard? I mean, how do you get to fire hazard, by the way?
It's a really good question. I mean, I think you get older and your birthdays are more about other people. I think you make them about other people making an awkward social obligation to come over and celebrate with next time it'll be 43-year-old man. And I think that's really what it's about. It's about sharing a discomfort with others and like too high of an expectation about a thing that like we should have all outgrown. And so you still do the cake because that you make a whole fuss about it. And I think just a standard cake with just like a thick layer of frosting, I think it's one of the most disgusting things you can serve an adult. Like, it's great when you're 4, but I think it's absolutely horrific. And I think that there's something fun about that, because if you want something good, you go ice cream cake, in my opinion. If you want something where it's like, oh, this was kind of enjoyable to have once a year. You can have a tiny sliver of ice cream cake and be like, oh, okay. I kind of enjoyed that. Yeah.
So Shane, let me just because our fans are big on their birthdays. We're very immature.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
why are we spending so much time on this? You hit
Right.
a
I
sore
touched
spot
some
with
nerves.
a lot
Yeah.
of our fans who
I
are
get it.
and incels, and
Yeah.
so they cherish their birthdays. And let me get this straight: there's a cake with candles in it for your birthday.
Mhm.
Okay, they sing the song. Or do you hate the song too, Shane?
I
you hate
do. Yeah, I think it's one of the worst ever written. I think that's why you get it. You know, anyone can sing happy birthday. Like they just gave it away. There's no copyright, there's no licensing or whatever. Just anyone gets to say happy birthday just because it was like such an incredibly bad song. That might not even be true. You might have to pay
Yeah,
for
there's
happy
publishing
birthday.
rights. That guy's
Oh,
rich.
God.
That guy is
Damn.
rich right now, and you're making fun of his songwriting. That guy
Everything that I just said. Guy wrote, he gets money for that for
wrote
real?
money every time.
Oh, wait. That is true, isn't it? Are you serious?
That guy is rolling in it. What about for He's a
That's
Jolly Good Fellow?
amazing.
After you sing the birthday song, you go for He's a Jolly Good Fellow. Do you hate that song too, Shane?
This smoke break is brought to you by YoDelta.com, the official Getting High sponsor of the Gas Digital Network.
I think that if you're gonna sing happy birthday and it's there and you do it, you step up to the plate and you sing it. Like, I'm not averse to feeling silly.
Yeah.
I think if we're singing happy birthday, we fucking go for it. I think you really go for the happy birthday. I think you sing from the heart. You sing loudly so everyone knows that you sound loud enough so that no one else has to feel silly.
Yes.
Being the loudest person singing. And then I think if you're feeling frisky, you go for the jolly good fellow. Yeah, I really do. If we're gonna do it like, life's a silly sort of thing. If you find yourself in a silly situation, just like suck it up and deal with it and make the most of the silliness and one up it a little bit.
I take the birthday song seriously. When I start singing it, I just do it like it's an audition. You know what I mean? Like, I really kick it into high gear. You don't know who's in the room. It's like somebody might see me. I might get and
what birthdays are you going to?
you never know who could show up. Friend of a friend. My cousin works for NBC. My cousin produced Seinfeld.
I've never thought of the happy birthday song.
I think
as
it's because
an opportunity.
You moved out of LA, Shane. You moved out of LA. You were in LA, and then you decided to move, and I think your mindset shifted also.
I was never even an LA person. I moved there for a girl. I never did spots or anything. I've never wanted to be an LA or New York person. So,
But because you were in such a demand on the road, is that the real reason, Shane?
Yeah, that's one of the horrific mistakes I've made with my career. But there's multiple.
Well, let's get back to the birthday cake. You hate it, and there's candles burning on it. It's your birthday. You go to blow out the candles, and your wish is, I wish this cake wasn't here because I hate it. Is that true or false, Shane?
In the birthday wish, it comes true.
It could, yeah. You're not supposed to tell anybody, but is that what you're secretly wishing? It's like, I wish this cake was gone. It's triggering me.
What a funny wish. I'm gonna next time because normally you have a wish, the genie shows up. Okay, it's really gonna come true. You do the like, I have a happy orgy, family, love, friendship for life with $1 billion. You put a lot of I put a lot of hyphenations in my wishes so that it's still one, wish. You string together a bunch of words with a hyphen, and that's how you get the genie. But I think to overlook all of that, you just deny everything you could have possibly wanted in life, and then just wish for the cake not to be there. That's pretty funny. And no one will ever get to appreciate, because if your wish comes true, then it's just not there because of whatever the genie made time travel possible or whatever, and no one else gets to appreciate it but you. And I think that's one of the best jokes there is.
But don't you think it's a waste of a wish? Like if I was wishing right now, if it was my birthday, I'd be like, I wish it wasn't on my nose, but it's not my birthday. So it's like,
yeah,
if there's not a cake there, is that a waste of a wish? But you're finding the good in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people go like world hunger or whatever, but it's not funny.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's end starvation. Like, oh,
yeah.
Okay, but there's no value. Where's the punchline?
Yeah. People don't get it. People don't get that. Ending world hunger has no punchline. It's like snoozers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Shane, I got a bunch of more stuff to talk to you about, but before that, Shannon, you're going to love me for this. Let's go to plugs. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for watching the YouTube premiere every Monday at 9 p.m. We appreciate it. We love you. Thank you for the 5-star ratings and reviews. Thank you for telling a friend. We appreciate you as always, and we like to have a lot of fun with you. I'm MikeVecchione.com for dates. I am in Winnipeg right now. As I said, I will be in St. Louis next week at the Funny Bone, which is one of my favorite clubs. I love it. And then also in the future, Wisecrackers in Wilkes-Barre, PA, later in September. And also, if I'm remembering correctly, I just booked Comedy Works in Denver, which is a great club, in November. That's right around my birthday. And I probably will not be having a cake now after this conversation. But Comedy Works in November, St. Louis Funny Bone coming up, Wilkes-Barre, Wisecrackers in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania. So look for future dates at Comic Mike V on all social media platforms. I have new cards now with a QR code, which is a technological thing that I learned about, and people are following more. I'm leaving them out for fans here in Canada. I'm trying to shore up my fan base north of the wall, as people are saying on Game of Thrones. So I love you guys. Continue to support your boy at Comic Mike V, MikeVecchione.com. Special, hopefully coming out soon. We're tail end of editing, and look for it. I love you guys. Shane, what do you got?
Well, first off, it's weird because your whole disposition feels sarcastic. And so when you go to plug your things, for me, I feel like it's having an opposite effect. I have Shane Mauss, MAUSS.com is my main website that hasn't been updated anytime recently because I have more exciting things I do. I interview scientists every week for a podcast called Here We Are. And then I have a philosophy, comedy, art, absurdist podcast called Mind Under Matter, which we are doing a Mind Under Matter Campout Festival in Raleigh, North Carolina, September 9th until the 11th. It's a campout, and there's music and science talks and stand-up comedy. And it's right around the corner, so get tickets right away at mindunderpod.com. How was that? Did you see the way that I delivered?
Yes. Yeah, you stood and stared them down. Very Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
They got the message. Shannon, what do you got?
You can follow me on Instagram at Shannon Lee 6982. Listen to my podcast, The Thing Is Ding. We talk about bad dates, fighting, and ghosts. You can actually listen to the episode that Shane was on over the past Zoom live. He's on there. It was a lot of fun. Wherever you listen to Mike Vecchione Investigates, you can also watch it live for free every single Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern at gasdigitalnetwork.com/live. That's absolutely for free. The best way to support the show is to go to gasdigitalnetwork.com, use promo code MVI. That'll give you a 1-week free trial, which gives you access to every single episode of this show and every other show on the entire Gas Digital Network, all for free for 1 week. If you listen on iTunes or YouTube, make sure to rate, review, tell a friend, leave a comment. Every little bit of interaction helps the show. If you have your own video investigation to submit, send it into MikeVecchioneInvestigates@gmail.com. Go to podcastmerch.com for t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs. And that's it.
All right, Shannon, just for time's sake, how much time do we have? How much time have we done? Just so I know how to space this out.
Okay, hold on. We are at 37 minutes.
Okay, so that's good. I just wanted to make sure I'm not in the red yet.
Okay.
As far as my battery goes. There's a lot happening here. For those of you listening, it's I was late for the podcast. I'm in a foreign country. I forgot my charger on my computer. And now it's like when Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves are on that bus that they can't go less than 55 miles per hour. It's like they have to, it's a stressful situation that we're trying to do the best we can because this battery is wearing down and we've got to get all our time in because we cannot waste any more of Shane's time, which I already did with the mess up of time zone.
Hold on. You
The
don't.
moon is real. I don't believe the moon is real. Shane, you got me.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, we all have our little things that get us through, and I can understand how not believing in the moon could make you like strive more in life because you're fighting against some system that does believe in a moon, and you need to get the word out there, and that's inspiring for you. And I say whatever works. But I think an issue I have is you don't pick up a new chord when you lose one. Because
No.
I got about 5 chords around. You just say bye bye computer. I'm not using it with this.
I'm better with
battery.
my back against the wall, Shane. I'm better with my back against the wall.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know what? I didn't even have time to do it. If I was going to do it, I would have to do it last night. But since I was apparently unaware of the time of our meeting, I didn't have time to do it anyway. So it wouldn't have mattered. Sometimes you got to bite down and you got to go hard. And
What are you rumors?
Rumors. Yeah.
Yeah, a nice club for 1 week.
Yeah. Tuesday through Saturday, that run.
They used to keep you there for 2 weeks.
I know. I do.
That was such a crazy thing. It was 2 weeks. It was a terrible combo or condo. Terrible condo where they're like, well, there's a mall across the street that you can go to. Well, that's not a mall.
Well, I mean, 2 weeks is long anywhere, but
But
this
in
is-
Winnipeg in the winter, like I was.
thank God it's
Oh
the fall right. It's 80 outside right now. So I hit it right, you know, and also that built-in excuse. If the numbers aren't high, I can go, it's summer, everybody's barbecuing.
Yeah, it's
And,
true. But how do you find the audiences? I find them to be suspiciously nice in Canada.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Last night was really great. Last night I was like, oh man, this is awesome. They were great.
Yeah,
Tuesday they were great.
they're so good.
And then I did radio this morning and I'm doing a bunch of press tomorrow and I don't mind, I'll do it to the key. But I want to talk to you about your career shift because you were a guy who was supremely talented immediately. Everybody thought so. Comedians, it was a rare thing where comedians thought so and also the industry thought so.
Mhm.
So that's rare because usually if the industry thinks so, comics are like, yeah, whatever, even if you're happy for people, you're like, okay, that's not one of our guys, but you seem to be like one of our guys and we're also getting industry love. When did you make the conscious shift in your career and what was that shift?
I just got everything that I wanted way too soon. So I recorded my Comedy Central half hour like 5 years into my career, not even.
By the way,
And-
for those of you listening who don't really understand comedy, that's insanity. 5 years in, doing a half hour is insanity. And there's only a few guys who are like prodigy enough to do that. You were one of them. Tommy Johnigan was another guy who did that, I think.
Mhm.
And like you're looking at it, and there's certain guys who are like that in comedy, where you look at them and you go, this guy's 4 years in, 5 years in, and you're looking at their comedy and going, it's just good. It's like there's no, it's just
That's
some
so
people are
nice of you to
different
say.
levels faster than other levels. It's like a guy who runs a 4.240 in sports. It's like the guy's just supremely talented. So I feel like you were one of those guys. So you got everything super fast, and then what happened?
I like didn't handle it very well. Like I wanted to be a comedian since I was 10 years old, and like it was kind of like a gun to my head kind of situation that I was going to make this happen and set like moderate expectations for myself. And then when they happened, I just thought, well, this doesn't feel the way that I'd hoped that it would, and I just don't care that much. And now a lot of those aspirations feel silly. And I was also touring. I had the wonderful opportunity to get to tour internationally, where people were doing one-man show type things, and I was a short joke absurdist comedian, and I was like, what would I do a one-man show about? And I was always just reading pop science books as a hobby. Like I would get home from a show like very drunk at like 3 a.m, and I would be reading science books. And I have, if I'm drunk, I have so much science knowledge that I don't have access to when I'm sober. And so that was just this weird hobby of mine. And I'm like, oh, maybe I'll put together a show about science. At the same time, I was trying to sort out my life. I went through a period of time when I was smoking weed and watching the Animal Planet a bunch. And I just had a lot of questions, and I started emailing scientists, and I started collaborating with them. And then I just got really into just what is existence? Like, what is this thing that we're participating in? And it's about the worst thing I've ever done to my bank account or comedy career, but there's no escape from it. It's something that I like, and so I'm pursuing it. And I've always had this penchant for just doing novel things like that are different, and doing them in ways that no one else is. Like I always wanted more of a challenge until I got it. Now I'm like, oh, well, I challenged myself too much, and now I've hit a wall. And so, yeah, it's been a wild ride. And now I'm putting together a festival with like all these scientists and comedians and bands and artists and all these weird things all combined together. And I just keep on finding myself in scenarios like this all of the time, and I don't really know why I do it to myself totally.
Well, you enjoy it though, right? You find yourself in these scenarios and you go, oh, kind of cool. I'm exploring. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah. I think I always needed a little more of a feeling. I'm bipolar, and so I have very extreme waves of mania and depression, and there's something about it where I've tried medicating it a couple times, and it's just never. It's like I get to experience the richness of life in a way that very few people do. So I kind of have to accept the good with the bad sort of side of things. So that's what happened. And usually I think, oh, I fucked up. Like I was an exceptionally well-liked and accomplished comedian very quickly, and could have just kept on that route. But then I look back on the things I've done. I'm like, that's weird and interesting, and like no one else has done that exact thing before.
Right.
So I'm failing in some really new and unique and creative ways.
That's great, man. That's great. I find that too. I find that if everybody's doing something, it's better to do something else. If everybody's doing something and that's your thing, I think it's okay to do it. If you're like, that's my thing, I don't care what anybody else is. I don't care if everyone else is doing it. That's fine. That's my thing. But it's always nice to find a niche somewhere else. And I point to this podcast, and it's an investigative show, and no one has an investigative show like this. And that's my passion, to get, question where the baby formula is. John Hinckley Jr. is writing songs now. He shot the president. And it's like, follow up on these niche stories that last for like one day and then get buried in the headlines, and figure out why John Hinckley Jr. shot the president and then recovered like a champion, putting out hit after hit on YouTube. And his songs are really good, Shane. And it's like, meanwhile, babies are screaming for food. There's no formula. And they're eating Tide Pods mostly, and that's dangerous. And it's like getting to the bottom of stuff.
Yeah, you've summed up what passion is. It's neglecting the people that care about you and depend on you the most. And right. I think without that aspect of it, you aren't truly a passionate person. And that's you're completely self-indulgent.
You said bipolar. You said you don't treat it with medication? No medication.
No, I have in the past. I mean, right. I've been hospitalized a couple times because of it, where I've been like basically forced to take medication, and it doesn't agree with me that well. So, but that's what every bipolar person says. Right. Like like borderline personality it can be very similar in a lot of ways, but the thing is people that are borderline, they can see outside themselves enough to be like, this is a problem in my thinking that I can seek help and attention for. And nobody who is bipolar, like nobody is manic and like, you know what, I'm going to seek help right now. It just doesn't happen. And even knowing that intellectually and everything else, when you're experiencing it, no, not a chance. Why is Yeah. I mean, it's very there's different levels of it. I was bipolar 2 for a long time, which is just hyperactive in periods of time where you don't need to sleep that much and you're hyper creative and you're just cranking out. I would have 2 weeks of hypomania that would pay for a year for me, because I would just write a new hour and then I would have a new show in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And it was so like I took everything that came along with it. And then you bump it up to bipolar 1, which is the big one. That is out of sorts. That's the difference between like losing a little sleep and being very excited about a project and thinking that time travelers are after you because you've discovered secrets that are going to do this and that in the world. Like it gets pretty, and most of it's because you just won't sleep for like, weeks at a time.
Weeks at a time. Basically. I didn't know there was a thing like in criminal justice where it's like bipolar and bipolar 1. It's like a felony 1. Yeah, premeditated.
Yeah,
I love it. So no meds. How do you treat it then?
It's knowing what mood. So if you're depressed, you can do psychedelics to elevate your mood. If you're manic, you can drink alcohol to lower it.
I thought you were going to say
pretty cut and dry.
I thought you were going to say the happy
I've given zero good advice, but it's what's worked for me. And it's also just experience. So you go crazy enough times where it's like, oh, when you think that you're like getting these divine inspirations or whatever, and like I'm seeing all these things and I'm making all these puzzles happen, and then they put you in a psych ward, and then there's like 20 other people walking around that also think that they're solving all the puzzles, and you go, wait, they're not solving a puzzle right now, they're a fucking crazy person. And then you go, oh, wait a second, I'm a crazy person. I'm making those same cognitive errors that this absolute lunatic is making. And thank goodness someone's just crazier than me, so I can recognize what is wrong and the errors in those thinkings, because our emotions can take a hold of us normally. And that's the thing is people like you and I that are just chill, calm, cool guys that everyone wants to be and are just level-headed and see everything clearly and are so logical and thoughtful and inspiring. You know, people don't think like, does that person have their emotions sometimes hinder their judgment? And we do as well. You know, that's you and I, like, we also aren't perfect.
We, our fans, I'm glad you said the last part, because our fans actually do worship us like we're gods.
Yeah.
Because they're like, but that's
right.
interesting that you can navigate that now with your mind. When you start to feel a certain way, you're like, oh, okay, I need to do this practice. I need to do this in order to bring myself back into balance.
It's synchronicities.
The synchronicities?
As soon as I feel a single synchronicity, that means I have 3 weeks to get my mind right, or I'm fucked.
Wow.
Like once most people get to experience synchronicities, like, wow, I was just thinking of a person and they called, isn't that magic?
Right.
And I don't get to have that. Like, once my brain starts down that path, there is no ending it. And so I have to catch the subtle warnings of that. And I do have medication I can take, like, acutely to put the fire out.
That's awesome, man. Do you drink still?
I do. Yeah. In and out.
That way?
What's that?
You can regulate that? You do the same thing with your mind?
Regulate? I mean, I'm an on and off guy. Usually what happens is I take like 6 months I'll take like 3 months to 3 years off of drinking alcohol. And then I'll be at like some festival or something like that where I'm like, well, I want to enjoy myself right now. And if I am sober, I'm just listening to not great EDM music or something.
Right.
Whereas if I'm influenced and and then it always goes really well. Like when I start drinking again, that's the slipperiest part. When I start drinking again, it's like I get 1 or 2 months of just, I'm super charming and I'm having a really great time and I'm so happy and I'm funny and I'm more creative than usual. And then I start, like, getting a little bit too habitual with it. And then that will eventually lead to, because there's only so many depressants that you can just blast your brain with before your brain's like, hey, you want to kill yourself? And then you go, wait, is this an actual idea or is this the chemicals that I am putting in my brain daily for 8 hours at a time? And then you go, maybe I should pump the brakes on this for a little bit. And then it's just a whole cycle.
Well, that's pretty interesting that you can do that, man, that you can regulate yourself and then you can bring yourself back into balance. I think very few people, I know I'm not a person who can do that. I mean, I probably maybe could do, I just don't want to take that chance. You know what I mean? But it's interesting that if you find yourself, you can, a red flag happens and you know the warning signs. You're like, all right, I got to bring it back here. Okay, now I'm doing good. It's like, okay, I'm off a little bit this way. I got to make sure that I'm not out of balance. Being out of balance is like a big thing, right?
It's everything. Yeah.
Just for our fans, in when you were hospitalized, straitjacket or no straitjacket? They want to know.
Well, they don't use straitjackets, I don't think, anymore. Now what they do is something much crazier, which is they will just take you and just strap you completely to a chair. You will just be legs, arms, everything just in a chair,
Right.
completely strapped down, your chest, everything. You can't move, and you're just in a chair. You can talk,
Yeah.
and that's about it.
Do they force you to watch Comedy Central or something?
No, they know I've already forced myself to watch Comedy Central way too much, and that's probably what got me there. There's something like when those last couple straps go on, there's something like interestingly calming about it. It's just
you surrender.
There is no choice.
Yeah.
You have to surrender. There's literally nothing else you can do. You can't move, and so it's you start in it, and then that affects your mind when you start getting more relaxed, because it goes from, like, I've literally thought that some of the people strapping me down were like some Wizard of Oz version of other people in my life, and this is all a metaphor and just a simulation. Basically, it's like what happens when you go manic in the way that I do anyway. It's just that you lose the kind of regulatory mechanism that lets you know, like, whether you're dreaming or sleeping. So or awake, rather. Right. So when you're dreaming, the idea that, like, oftentimes you don't know that you're dreaming, and then things get too crazy, and then you wake up. In a waking state, whatever does that can sometimes turn off. So I'm just like, I'm not awake right now. None of this is actually happening. None of this has ever happened. All of this has just been one long dream. And so then within that, you can do whatever you want. And, you know.
Well, do you just have sex with everybody at that point? I think that's what lucid dreaming. You just have sex and eat, not in your case, cake, but you eat sweets. You do everything, you know.
I have a lot of save the world kind of complexes in me, apparently, that happen. Like,
you're a better person than I was.
Yeah.
Everybody eat. People.
Yeah. You just come everywhere and stuff. Yeah, but I don't know. That might save the world. Coming everywhere might save the world.
It could be a solution. It's probably a solution to a lot of problems we haven't yet discovered. I know a zit on the nose isn't the answer.
The world's falling apart right now. Has Mike Vecchione been coming everywhere? Or maybe it might be a lack of his coming everywhere that is causing a lot of the grief in our modern society.
It's possible. Okay, Shane, I got to get you out on some topical issues. Ozzy Osbourne, I brought at the beginning of the show, is leaving the U.S. because of gun violence. What are your thoughts? Do you think he's overreacting?
Well, I'm not sure that. As someone who is not the biggest fan of guns, not that I'm like against them or liberties or these whole conversations, just that I think there's like sort of silly toys that people make these conscious rationalizations around and like build up in their mind is like, we need to protect our liberty. And I think probably you just think shooting guns are fun because they are. Right. I've shot guns and they're super fun.
They're fun.
And I've known you since you were 7. You've loved them since you were 7, and you didn't not have some complex idea of government tyranny when you were 7. You just liked guns, and your consciousness built these like stories to justify whatever you needed. So just own it. And then on the other side of that, I would say that Ozzy Osbourne doesn't have like speaking of aptitudes, I'm not sure he has one for statistical reasoning. Because I'm not actually sure.
How about 666 as a statistic for you?
There we go.
Number the beast, dog.
I think statistically people are not great at statistical reasoning and are better at anecdotal thinkers, and so gun violence is one of those things that quite easily hijacks our emotional states. And someone like Ozzy Osbourne, was it Ozzy Osbourne or Rob Zombie?
Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy Osbourne, who is, it's shocking he's still alive. And like I don't know how clear he is in his philosophical understanding of reality, but Canada seems like a great place to be in, whatever gets you there. Whether it's a gig at Rumors,
baby. Rumors in Winnipeg.
Gun
He
Queers.
to England though. But last one, Leonardo DiCaprio just broke up with his 25-year-old girlfriend. He breaks up with any woman who's turns 25.
Every time?
Every time.
Huh.
That's the chart of the women that he's broken up with. Okay? When they turn 25, Leo is Audi 5G.
This is a real chart?
Yes. Leo leaves when they turn 25. And I'm on Leo's side on this. Like, don't turn 25. Just don't turn 25. Shane, can we get a quick take from you on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you get the things that I think going back to innate dispositions, I think that there are innate dispositions toward things that have to do with environmental cues and everything else. But I'll tell you this about myself. I always thought I liked older women because I always dated older women. I always dated women that were like 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
And I just assumed my whole life that's what I was into.
Right.
Until I reached 35 and got past 35. And then I realized, oh, I just like women in their early 30s and just always have and always will. and I don't think there's much changing that. And I think you just got to be grateful that Leo's thing is within a range of, legal-ish. I will say that 25 years old is when the prefrontal cortex, which is it's in the frontal lobe of the brain. It's the thing that makes us the most human. It's the stuff that's the most responsible for this fancy language stuff that we have that a lot of other primates and species don't have in the sophistication that we have. And what it really does is allows you to make the harder choice when it's better for you in the long run. And it's really something that makes humans quite special, as bad as at it as we can be. But I think that so it's a fact, rather, that the prefrontal cortex fully develops and matures in humans about 25 years old.
Right.
And so I just feel like, and it's one of the first things to atrophy as well. So I think that basically banging anyone that isn't between the age of about 25 and 55 to 60, is just like you're kind of like banging a mentally challenged person. That's my take on it, but maybe that's what he's into.
Well, I think that my take is that when they're old enough to rent a car, you got to break up with them. I mean, that's the good warning sign. Shane, thank you so much for joining us. We got to get out of here. Shannon's got to go. My computer is running dead. I can't thank you enough for coming on. I want to have you on again so we can go deeper. And when you come to New York, you got to let me know so that we can have you in flesh on flesh.
Wonderful.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you.
Thank you,
For
my friend.
Shannon,
Good to see you.
For my guest, Shane Mauss, for my pimple that's on my nose, I'm Mike Vecchione. We'll see you guys next week.